to say something, Greg?
1-2, we're out here. Brigham Young are doing the march in.
I can't. Yeah. Well, it's 6:31, so are we live?
Now I'm hearing you better now.
I can hear you a little better.
Yeah, that's
now.
better than it was.
I mean, at least if Greg can hear me and I can hear him, well, I guess that's better than nothing.
Yep.
Can you hear yourself? No.
Uh-oh, they're calling in the heavy hitters if they're going to get Marco out here.
Yeah, I mean, if I can hear you, at least that's better than nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm going to be asking some questions and stuff, and you need to know what I'm asking you.
Right. So that's Olivia. No, nothing. 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 Greg, can you say something?
1-2.
I can hear Greg. Okay, sounds good.
So you're going to text her when we're live? Okay. All right. So we can go right now then. Okay. Inside the Cavalli Center at Ohio State University. And we're having some pre-meet events here. Juniors are walking in prior to this meet between the hosts, Ohio State Buckeyes women's gymnastics team, and the Cougars of Brigham Young. Greg Franke with Lexi Mattern, and of course the lights dimmed as you see now, but this is always fun. You want to break the tension a little bit before a meet, and nothing better to accomplish that than to have the kids march in.
Absolutely. We just honored our junior Buckeye, Claire. Before we start this incredible matchup between BYU and OSU.
And there's still a number of kids that are lined up down there. But this is a meet for Ohio State. They're coming off the Big Five meet, which they faced 4 other competitors from the Big Ten, and they finished 3rd in that meet. They have shored up 4th place in the Big Ten, which is very important. That's the cutoff point where when you go into the Big Ten championships, whether you'll be on the floor in the evening session or in the morning session, everybody wants to be in the evening session. So they've accomplished that. What are they trying to really use this meet for? A number of their gymnasts, their regulars, are going to be out here today. Of course, they've got another meet coming up on Sunday. What's the thinking behind the lineups, and what's the thinking just behind the team and what they're trying to accomplish as they look to peak for that Big Ten championship?
Right, so as you mentioned, we are seated now for the Big Ten championships here in the Big Ten. However, one of these teams is not in the Big Ten, so we're looking at BYU looking to capitalize on another great team score, whereas Ohio State is again trying to prep for Big Ten championships moving forward. Ohio State, again, going into that evening session for the Big Ten championships, that premier elite session, coming in that top tier of the Big Ten as we recognize our Buckeyes marching in right now. The point of these meets are to just get better and better and prep for postseason.
And obviously, they want to be at their best once they get to the Big Ten championships and beyond, as you see the Buckeyes being introduced, and just hopefully they don't trip. They're jumping off of that platform there. Seen stranger things happen than that, but they seem to be handling it quite well. Brigham Young, Ohio State coming in at 16th in the country. Brigham Young, in their last meet, they were victorious over Alaska, formerly known as Alaska Anchorage, but they're located in Anchorage, Alaska, the Seawolves. And Brigham Young won that by a count of 196.350 to 190.125. So they won it going away. Interestingly enough, that score that they put up in that meet was very similar to the score that Ohio State put up when they lost to Michigan at Ann Arbor. They lost, of course, Michigan, the top team in the Big Ten, 197.575 to 196.350. So if you look at the scores and you see that Brigham Young put up something comparable to what Ohio State did against Michigan, how indicative is that of what we're going to possibly see today?
I would say that it's not quite indicative due to the fact that Ohio State got that score weeks ago. We've had time to grow and settle into the competition season. Brigham Young is, while a competitive school with great gymnastics and skills, they are going to want to capitalize and just move forward, whereas Ohio State, that is not their high score. They're looking to do better and move forward still, but also outscore themselves.
All right, the national anthem. And as we were just saying before the national anthem, Ohio State has moved on from that score against Michigan. Of course, you never know what can happen from one meet to another, but they scored significantly higher at the Big Five meet, 196.750. Michigan State won with a 197.675. Nebraska was second at 196.925. Is that about where they want to be right now in terms of building for the final important meets of the season?
Well, it's worth noting that gymnastics scoring is always subjective. You hear gymnastics coaches always talk about control the controllables. You can only do your best routine, prepare as best you possibly can, and put your best foot forward. And that's what every athlete and every coach can hope for and prepare for. The judges have all of the control over the scores. So scores are only relative and are only subjective to that day. Of course, you're looking for those 9-9 scores, those high scores for those next to perfect routines. However, it is something that is in the judges' control. So while the scoring for Ohio State last week was not ideal, there were still some little mistakes that they needed to not make in order for them to get that higher score. And unfortunately, other teams did come out on top and have a better performance that day. So while it set them up for success in the postseason, yes, because we're going to grow and learn and move forward, as BYU will do as well from any of their meets in the past, especially this one coming off of an away meet and a big win against Alaska.
Brigham Young's win over Alaska was their final home meet of the year. It was actually at 11 o'clock in the morning. It was Kids' Day there. And we might talk about how that affects the routine of a gymnast, but they're now, of course, at Ohio State. Ohio State has been on the road for their last three competitions. And they beat Illinois on the road. They beat Penn State on the road. They finished third in the Big Five. They had scores of ranging from the 196.725 and 5.0 to 196.825. Their last home meet, they were 197.575. I think we've talked about it before, but there is something that helps you in terms of being back in your home gym.
Absolutely. Home court advantage in any sport is real. It's your fans, it's your crowd, it's your home. It's what you thrive on. It's a powerful thing to look out into your crowd and you see a whole bunch of scarlet and gray. You see a whole bunch of blue if you're at home for Brigham Young. You want to see that familiarity. But going away and then having to do your best performance in someone else's home is, a very hard thing. And both teams have done that very well this season.
Ohio State warming up on the vault where they will be starting the competition. And Brigham Young will be beginning on the uneven bars. Ohio State, we mentioned, have a number of their regulars that are not competing here tonight. What do you think is maybe the thinking behind that in terms of putting the lineup together, and especially because they do have another meet coming up in just a couple of days?
Right. You're going to see teams rest other athletes. So those heavy hitters, you see this in postseasons all the time with other sports. You see basketball teams and football teams, you're going to rest the starters occasionally. Give them a break when you have back-to-back competitions or games. This is not new to any sport. But for gymnastics, having two meets back-to-back, especially within 72 hours of each other, is very difficult.
I would think that would be grueling.
Absolutely. So giving those athletes a time to take a step back, we give other people a chance to compete and make sure that every person from start to finish of those lineups, even the backups, are ready for postseason.
And you never know, and an injury could take place just like in any other sport. But in gymnastics, maybe even more susceptible to that than others, and you have to have somebody that's ready to step in if necessary. And the exhibitions are good. It simulates actual meet competition,
Absolutely.
But it's still not the same thing as actual meet competition, which they're going to get. A number of them are going to get tonight.
Absolutely. So we had numerous exhibition performances and meets prior. We're still going to see them today as we finish out the regular season competition. However, some of those exhibitions are now in the lineup this week as we're resting some of our starters.
Lexi Edwards, of course, is one of the real leaders for Ohio State. She will be competing, but only on the bars. Ella Hodges had an outstanding floor competition in the Big Five meet. She'll be out tonight, but I'll probably see them again on the meet coming up on Sunday, in which Ohio State will be taking on Illinois and Kent State. Some of the other, Kaylin Mintz will get a chance to look at the freshman from Wilmington, North Carolina on the vault. In fact, she's going to lead off on the vault.
And the leadoff is a very, very tough spot to be in. You are the tone setter, especially leading off on the vault. This is the entire start to the meet. And a dual meet, we go back to back from Ohio State to Brigham Young and vice versa on every event. She will be the first competitive routine that we see today in this entire meet. So she will quite literally set the tone for the entire meet. So it's big shoes to fill.
Emma Pritchard will be competing on the bars and the beam in this competition. Last year, she was exclusively a beam participant. But as a freshman, she was an all-rounder, so we'll get a chance to look at her. She'll be leading off. Speaking of the importance of the leadoff performer, she'll be starting on the bars and the beam here in this competition. Savannah Gonzalez will be in the floor lineup. So we'll get a chance to see a lot of participants here, and that's part of the enjoyable aspect of the sport, to watch as many different performers as possible. So here we go. We're just about getting ready to get underway with the competition. See Coach Meredith Polisivic, and she's there as usual, ready to cheer on her team as well as coach them.
Yurchenko full to start off the Buckeye lineup. She did have a small break in her hips, which will be a small deduction, and a hop back on her landing, but overall, she had great dynamics and a very clean landing.
She was a
good start for the Buckeyes.
19 Junior Olympics Nationals qualifier. She finished 5th on the vault. So she did what you said. She got them off to a good start and set the tone. And now we go to the bars as we'll alternate back and forth, and we'll have Alex Mason for Brigham Young. She was 9.825 in that meet against Alaska. First on the bars at regionals in 2019. National qualifier that year.
Starting off her routine strong with great cast handstands and good control of her body lines as she transitions back up to the high bar. A little loose on that cast handstand, but she hits the handstand nonetheless, which is what the judges want to see. Into a double layout with a small step on the landing. Again, another great start for this meet today. Tori Vetter for the Buckeyes up next on vault. Another Yurchenko full, excellent dynamic height off of the table. We saw that stretch in the body line. She did the full twist, found the ground. She did have a small hop back, but excellent vault for Tori Vetter.
She had a 9.800 on the vault in the Big Five competition. She was all around. She had a little bit of a slip on the bars, and that affected her all-around score, but overall she had a solid meet, including her vault competition there. And it'll be Sydney Benson up next for Brigham Young. Sydney Benson had a career high on the bars in that meet against Alaska. 9.850. Getting ready to mount.
Starting off on the high bar for this routine. Beautiful cast handstand into a toe shoot, into a very high flying Tkachev there. Overshoot to handstand. The judges want to see the straight line from your fingertips all the way to your toes in these handstands. Gearing up for her dismount. Another double layout to a stuck landing.
Yeah, she stuck that all right.
Her team is fired up. That was an excellent routine. Good body lines, good height in the releases.
And in the bios of Brigham Young, a lot of them are asked their best memories, and a number of them said, there's nothing better than sticking the landing and having everybody rush to you and give you high fives and give you the hero's welcome.
Another Yurchenko full for the Buckeyes. Almost a stick there, but again, another hop back on the landing. Very clean in the air. You're going to hear the word dynamic happen a lot on vault. You want to see that high block from the hands up through their body before they twist and hit the ground again. And Ohio State has put up 3 very dynamic vaults this far.
It was Nicole Riccardi. She also had a 9.800 on the vault in that Big Five competition. So far, both teams have started off well. Maybe early on in a meet, you just want to really have solid routines just to get into it.
Beautiful cast handstand into a toe shoot, into her release up to the high bar. Showing very pretty and control body lines. Beautiful pirouette that ends right on top of the bar. That's what the judges are looking for. Little short on that cast handstand. That'll be a slight deduction into a double layout to a stuck landing.
That's 2 stuck landings in a row by Madison Raisley Patton. By Sydney Benson. And now Another one there by
Building that
Kylie
momentum.
Akinto.
Raina Malice for the Buckeyes. Yurchenko full. Again, the dynamic block off the hands to a good tight body squeeze through their twist. Again, another hop back on the landings. Those landings are, the deductions are what's going to eat away at that team score towards the end. You really want to hone in on the landings and not give the judges an opportunity to put pen to paper and take away those points.
She sold it pretty well, which the gymnasts are apt to do.
Absolutely. It's part of that performance aspect.
And she did look actually very suave. It was almost like if she intended to do it, you'd believe it. She was a 2016 vault champion in the state of Ohio. Prior to joining the Buckeyes, a local product from Dublin. And now we go on to the third performance on the bars. This is Kylie Akinto for Brigham Young.
Little short on that cast handstand into a Tkachev. She had beautiful height through that release. Free up to handstand into an overshoot. She has great momentum in this bar routine.
9.800 against Alaska on this event.
Gearing up for her dismount. Again, another double layout. Unfortunately, did take a step on that landing. Step forward with her chest down just slightly, but a beautiful bar routine nonetheless.
Now, you always like to stick the landing, but it doesn't detract from the rest of the routine if you make a step every now and then, although they're all perfectionists, I'm sure.
Always want to end on a high note.
They wouldn't be here if they weren't.
Sydney Jennings, Yurchenko full stuck landing. Holy moly, that was beautiful.
Didn't have to sell
I
that
have
one.
never seen her do that as well as she just did. That's incredible. Now, it's also worth noting that that vault starts out of a 9.95, so while we always want to push for those perfect 10s, the highest score she can actually receive is a 9.95. And the score comes in at a 9.9, so just near perfect for Sydney Jennings.
Her career high was a 9.925, and for a moment it looked like she just might equal it.
I don't know what they took off, personally.
Not the landing, if judging by your reaction to it.
I mean, I'm not a judge, but I would have given it to her.
But you know gymnastics. I'll take your word for it.
So, Sydney Jennings, if you're listening one day, we gave you a 9.95.
Well, you gave it to her, and I said, fine, I'll accept that.
Okay, so I gave it to you. Greg co-signed.
Yeah, I co-signed. That's exactly right. Lindsay Hunter is up next.
I'm sorry, this is actually Anissa. I think we're behind a name. Whoops. Lindsay just received a 9.825. That was the routine we just saw a moment ago. She's starting her routine with a beautiful cast handstand into a packed salto, hitting all of those beautiful body lines that the judges want to see. Beautiful half twisting release up to the high bar. Again, another cast handstand that's right on top of the bar. Gears up for her dismount. Another double layout. Oh my beautiful landing. Stick after stick.
That's her
after
third stick landing. She got a 9.875, tied for first in that Alaska competition on the bars.
Her score from last week. That routine was beautiful, dynamic, and in control. Freshman Peyton Harris will round out the Buckeye lineup. Here she is. Wow. Yurchenko 1.5 stuck landing.
They appear to be in the zone here.
You can't beat that. Incredible job for the Buckeyes. That is a blind landing, Yurchenko 1.5. She's going to open up and have to trust her body to be in the right place at the right time. And she did it.
But you expect that, and she's doing anchor. She was third on the vault in the Nationals last year and was Big Ten gymnast to watch, so that's why they had her in that final position. Anna Bramblett will be the final performer for Brigham Young.
49.9 from her teammate before her.
That's Anissa Alvarado, and she even did better than she did in the last one where she tied for first in the competition. So both teams are off to a strong start in their respective events.
Very strong start.
And you can't really have a great meet if you don't start well, so that's the first step of it.
Building the momentum. She's going to start on the high bar here. A little short on that cast handstand. She gets into her straddled Jaeger. A little close to that high bar. She had to bend her arms a little bit. Back up to the high bar. Gearing up for a double layout to a stuck landing.
They have their landings down so far, and there's the rush to congratulate the gymnast after the dismount, Anna Bramble. That's out of 6 routines. I think that's 4 stuck landings.
Those are the details that the coaches and the judges are really looking for. Peyton Harris' score coming in at a 9.85, and the crowd is not happy with the score. I'm not so sure I'm happy with it either. That was a near perfect vault. A 9.85 is still a good score nonetheless.
It would be interesting to know after a vault like that just
Absolutely.
exactly what the score was
judges were
detracted
looking at,
from.
right.
Yes. Brigham Young, they beat Alaska. Previously, before that, they beat Utah State.
Final score for BYU coming in at 9.875 for Anna Bramblett. That takes BYU over the Buckeyes, 49.3 to 49.05.
They had a victory over Boise State this year.
They have one last routine here. It's an exhibition routine. Very clean body lines. Back up to the high bar. Beautiful cast handstand right on top of the bar. Into another double out. Small step back on that landing, but overall a beautiful bar lineup from BYU.
Jada Leah Lagata on that one. Too bad we're not going to get to see your removed cousin Olivia Mattern perform for Brigham Young. At some point, I'm sure you're related, just how far you have to go.
I know. I'm not so sure about that. Her names are spelled a little differently.
So that concludes the first event, and we move into the rotation. We'll be right back here to the Covelli Center. teams are concluding their warm-ups prior to the second event following the rotation, so it will be Brigham Young moving over to the vault and Ohio State on the bars, and then it'll be very easy to compare where the two teams are at. But Brigham Young right now with a 49.300 following the bars, and Ohio State at 49.050 on the vault. How does that stack up right now?
It's definitely not the position Ohio State thought that they would find themselves in after the first rotation. However, we still have plenty of gymnastics to come. Also, like we talked about at the beginning, scores are subjective to the judges. Ohio State's going to have to put their best foot forward on bars, beam, and floor in the rest of the meet, and BYU is just going to try to capitalize after having a 2.5-tenth lead coming off of the first rotation.
In their previous meet against Alaska, and again, that was in their home facility, but nevertheless, they had all 6 scores, 9.8 or higher did Brigham Young. So that might be indicative, and especially watching the way they performed here tonight as well, that could be one of their stronger events. And we'll see how they do on the vault. And they did have some pretty respectable vault scores in that meet against Alaska also. So we'll see how they do here tonight.
Absolutely. I'm super excited to see where this meet takes us as we're heading into rotation 2 of 4.
Brigham Young's Sophie Dudley will be the first vaulter. She had outstanding beam and floor performances in that Alaska meet. Let's see how she does here on the vault.
Yeah. Starting off with a stuck Yurchenko full for Sophie Dudley. Again, we saw that dynamic block off of the table. She finds that landing perfectly, and her feet are glued and they don't move. Excellent start for BYU.
Can't complain about that.
No, you cannot.
To get the team started.
Emma Pritchard up for the Buckeyes.
They've been sticking just about everything so far tonight, Brigham Young.
Sticky feet, sticky feet.
That's what you want.
Emma Pritchard, the leadoff for Ohio State. Beautiful cuss handstand, toe shoot right into a ginger. Beautiful extension into that overshoot as she transitions back up to the high bar. One last cuss handstand. She takes a brief pause there to show control into this blind full double back. Her feet are stuck. That's how you start a bar lineup. Incredible lead off for the Buckeyes.
She really held on to that landing.
She definitely showed the fight, gripping her toes through that mat there. Buckeyes are back to play.
Said last year she competed only on beam, but the year before as a freshman she was an all-rounder. She certainly showed that capability there. Madison Raisley-Patton on that ball for Brigham Young. She actually tied her career high in the previous meet at 9.825, a score that she duplicated on the beam as well. They gave Sophie Dudley a 9.850 on that first vault.
Peyton Harris for the Buckeyes. Beautiful cuss handstand into her release. Excellent extension as she re-grasps the bar. Toe shoot to handstand. Coach Paula Civic said she wanted her girls to focus on growing 2 inches in their cast handstand, showing the stretch through the shoulders. And I think we're seeing that here, Greg. Beautiful blind full double back, sticks the landing. Awesome start.
Now she was great on the vault, so now she's got 2 excellent performances under her belt. She was in the top 10 on the bars as well as the beam and the floor in the National Championship Development Program. Very, very versatile talent. Back to the vault, Sydney Benson.
Beautiful Yurchenko full, small hop back on the landing, but she had excellent extension through her hips and that Yurchenko full. Peyton Harris with a 9.875.
Sydney Benson had a 9.875 on the vault, en route to a 38.500 all-around, which was her best all-around score. Actually, she accomplished that last year and called it her best moment to date in her career.
Lexi Edwards up for the Buckeyes.
It's the only time we'll get to see her tonight, so
yes.
to make it good.
She's not doing leg events today, but a beautiful bar routine is what we have in store for you today. I have seen nothing wrong with this bar routine. It is beautiful. A little short on that cast handstand. I spoke too soon. Blind full, double back, small hop back on her landing. She just has beautiful lines and flow of her bar routine. It's a breeze to watch.
She's always one of the more entertaining gymnasts to watch. One of the
absolutely.
Big Ten gymnasts to watch entering this year. Second team all Big Ten a year ago, and a good chance she'll duplicate that or maybe even become first team. Back to the vault for Brigham Young. That was Rebecca Ripley, believe it or not. We seem to be having some technical issue that's keeping us from rotating over there to catch their vault performances.
Alexis Edwards score coming in at a 9.825.
Rebecca Ripley got a 9.825 on the vault in her very first meet. That's a good way to break into collegiate gymnastics. Nicole Riccardi up for Ohio State.
It's actually Alexis Hankins back in the bar lineup for the Buckeyes after a few weeks off. Good cast handstand to start.
Oh, there's two Lexis before Nicole.
Yeah.
I got it.
Straddled Jaeger up to handstand. Beautiful pack salto as she transitions back up to the high bar. One last cast handstand, nails it. Gearing up for her double layout dismount. And she sticks the landing. The crowd is on their feet.
Well, Ohio State's on their way to duplicating or exceeding what Brigham Young did in their bar routines to the start. And if they succeed in that, that could help to wipe out that early deficit.
Absolutely. And this is the point in the season where we want to see stuck landings, hit handstand stuck landings, no wobbles or bobbles, and confidence the whole way through.
They've definitely been showing that. You just see the Hardy embrace. Kylie DeQuinto is the last vaulter for Brigham Young. 9.875 on the vault in her previous outing. And now it's Nicole Riccardi after the two Lexis went.
You were just really excited for this high
Well, I just saw Alexis, and it was Lexi Edwards first and then Hankins, so that's why. But anyway, Nicole Riccardi.
It's hard when we're sitting all the way up here. We can't tell whose bun is whose.
Exactly.
Beautiful cast handstand, toe shoe. Huge release, extension through that fingertips. Gets better and better every time. Pack salto down to the low bar.
9.875 in the NCAA regionals on this event last year.
Definitely a bar worker. Great cast handstand, stalled her up into this dismount, double back, stuck, landing, incredible.
They really must have sticky feet over there in that ball.
That mat must be extra sticky.
The mat must be sticky. Everybody's sticking their landings.
The crowd is chanting 10. Her teammate before her with a 9.825.
trying to keep you abreast of the Brigham Young vault results. Alex Mason there just a moment ago. .85 on the previous vault. Nicole Riccardi got a 9.925. They're edging closer and closer to that 10.
Super close to perfect.
I don't think those fans are going to be satisfied till they get one, though.
No, I would say that a perfect 10 is probably close to in her future. With a bar routine like that, the judges have to give it to her at some point.
At some point, they just have to.
Right. Colby Miller, the super senior, to round out the bar lineup for the Buckeyes. Beautiful cuss handstand. Release up to the high bar. Overshoot to handstand.
She was 5th in the Big Ten on bars last year, 9.985 national qualifying score.
Gearing up for her dismount. Double layout. Sticks the landing. Absolutely incredible. You don't have to. It's expected at this point. They're chanting 10 again for Colby Miller. She's one of the
Meredith
best.
Policivic is leading the 10 chants right now.
She's one of the best bar workers in the country. She won Big Tens last season. Incredible, incredible gymnast to watch. Watching the end of that Yurchenko half on vault there, finally getting back.
Yeah, she won it last year. Currently, she's tied for 5th in the Big Ten and certainly is be a major contender again this year.
A 9.95 for
Keep getting
Colby
closer
Miller.
and closer.
Closer and closer. Just 10, half 10s here and there.
Well, maybe Hannah Oliveros is going to do it. You said that sometimes the gymnast can set you up for success, right?
Yes, absolutely. Unfortunately, Hannah is the exhibition for the Buckeyes today.
Well, maybe they don't score the exhibitions.
They do score the
Okay,
exhibitions.
So
it just doesn't count for anything.
Yeah, that would be a shame, wouldn't it?
Right. Great confidence builder, absolutely, for the exhibition spots. Hannah starting off her routine, cast handstand on the high bar. Line change into a straddled Jaeger. Good cast handstand, overshoot, beautiful handstand, showing that extension out of the shoulders through to the fingertips. Little short on that last cast handstand into her blind full, double back, small hop backwards, but beautiful exhibition routine. Again, we're talking about those confidence builders. Great hit bar routine.
And still an opportunity to perform in front of your home crowd and all the enthusiasm. We were here earlier this year in that Kentucky meet. They set an all-time attendance record. This place was absolutely packed. It's not packed tonight, but a very good, enthusiastic crowd again. And there's nothing like performing in front of such a crowd, I'm sure. So that concludes the second rotation. And we'll take a break. And we'll be right back and continue on in this dual meet here between Ohio State and Brigham Young. They have rotated. They're warming up. Brigham Young will be on the floor. Ohio State will be on the beam. Ohio State erased that early advantage that Brigham Young had from that first rotation, and they enter now the third rotation. Ohio State with a 98.450, a half a point over Brigham Young, so they certainly bounced back very well in those bar routines.
Absolutely. They did not let the score affect them as they moved into their second rotation, being bars. They put up amazing bar routines and focused on what they could control, and that was their gymnastics. However, BYU did not let up on that throttle. They were going full force on those vaults and put up an amazing vault score. They were dynamic and powerful and really honed in on those landings. So we have ourselves a meet today.
Well,
we're going into the second half.
If Brigham Young was that good on the vault, then Ohio State must have really killed it on the uneven bars.
Absolutely.
To overcome the deficit they were facing prior to that second rotation.
Yes, now our scores are within a half a tenth, and in the gymnastics world, that is actually pretty close. And I'm excited for the rest of this meet today. We watched BYU warm up floor. They have some great choreography, super fun music, and Ohio State is super dynamic on the beam. We're going to see intricate choreography, hard skills, and great showmanship. So I'm very excited, Greg.
We have seen more than once dramatic meets go down to the final event and the final routine to decide who's going to win. So who knows, we could have some more excitement in store for us. So here we go with Ohio State starting on the beam with Emma Pritchard.
Emma, a beautiful beam worker for the Buckeyes, starting off with a hitch kick into her side aerial, doesn't move an inch.
She had 4 times of 9.850 last year on the beam.
An excellent lead off for the Buckeyes. She shows grace, control, and elegance.
Very consistent, as those scores indicate.
Flight series, back handspring layout, step out. Broom routine should flow like a river. The rhythm is very important, and it's something that the judges actually can take a deduction on. Switch lead. Straddle quarter. That beam is 4 inches wide, so landing sideways like Emma just did is very difficult. Gearing up for her dismount. Round off 1.5, small hop, but shows control. Job well done for Emma Pritchard for the Buckeyes.
Well, they've been getting good lead-off routines in each of the events that we've seen so far. Now it will be Brigham Young starting on the floor with Eliza Millar. 9.875 on the floor in that previous meet. She's a cell biology and psychology major and thinks having good psychology skills would be very good for a gymnast. There's a lot of the mental aspect of the sport. She won the floor title at the Eastern Nationals. It's her top gymnastics moment.
Round off back handspring, double back. A little out of control there. You see her hop backwards and out of bounds. So she'll take a deduction for the hop as well as the out of bounds deduction. Having fun with her choreography.
You can definitely see that she relishes the entertainment aspect of the routine. Maybe that adrenaline was going a little too much there in that first tumbling pass.
Front layout, front full, unfortunately does take a fall out of that front full. Didn't quite rotate enough to get her body over top of her feet. Definitely a score that BYU will want to drop. Important noting that we will see 6 routines up in the lineup, and 5 of them will count towards the team score.
The unfortunate thing is when you have one of your typically top performers and you have to drop that score, then you might have to take another one that you otherwise could have dropped But it happens to the best of them.
Yes, anything can happen on any given day.
And it was still fun to watch her out there.
Absolutely. Great choreography. This is Alexis Hankins for the Buckeyes back in the beam lineup, following her teammate before her with a score of 9.75.
9.9 on bars in last year's NCAA regional. Not only a high score, but in a big stage.
Beautiful back handspring, layout, step out, showing control in her landings and the confidence that we talked about previously, wanting to see at this stage in the competition season. Beautiful kickover, smiling as she is doing her choreography.
She was a state beam champion in Nebraska before coming to Ohio State.
Switch leg split quarter. The leaps are just as important as the acro in beam routines. It is a requirement to show that 180 leap. Gearing up for her dismount. Round off, double twisting layout, small hop back on the landing, but a hit routine for the Buckeyes. We're watching that momentum build from one event to the next.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. They haven't skipped a beat from what they were building in the bars as far as momentum goes. And if they can keep it up, they could definitely. Now there's an open door because BYU stumbled a bit in their opening floor. It's the same thing in that we saw a men's meet about a month ago where the very same thing happened. They had a couple of falls in the last event, and it opened the door for the Buckeyes to come back and win. And you never know when that sort of thing might happen.
Absolutely. You have to be ready for anything, but it's also important noting that you have to stay within your own team and not focus on what everyone else is doing around you.
Yeah, whatever happens with them happens. It gets back to the control what you can control philosophy.
When I was competing, we often said, stay in your team's bubble. And it works. A 9.8 for Alexis Hankins as we're still awaiting the score for the leadoff for BYU.
It's at the state swimming finals last week, and a lot of the swimmers, their refrain is, swim your own race.
Yes.
Don't worry about the one in the lane next to you.
Absolutely. I would say the same applies here, but, you know.
Tailored to gymnastics.
Right.
Yeah, it's not a race in this sport. Well, Brigham Young will send Sydney Benson to the floor, and they need to have a strong routine here now. In fact, there's a little bit more pressure on all of them now because they know that one of the ones that they normally rely on to give them big scores didn't have their best night tonight, so now it falls to them.
Everything counts moving forward.
Sydney Benson was 9.850 on the floor in that previous meet against Alaska.
First tumbling pass here.
Sophomore from Utah, local product.
Round up back handspring, double back. Perfect lunge. Fun choreography. Her teammates are dancing along with her. Torchete half into a straddle full. Didn't quite see that full extension from toe to toe. Again, that 180 straight line is what the judges are looking for in leaps and jumps. Front layout, front full. I think I saw a little moonwalk there, Greg. Fun choreography, keeping the judges and the crowd engaged.
You can engage the judges. That's the first
engage
step
and
in the
entertain.
battle. Half the battle.
Double pike to close out that routine. Small hop back in that lunge, but dynamic tumbling.
Yeah. If they're entertained enough, they might forget about a little mistake you made. So Sydney Benson comes back with a good routine, which they needed, and they're going to continue to need. Now Peyton Harris. Side mount to the beam. They can keep their momentum rolling.
I love watching Peyton Harris. captivates an audience.
Third on the vault and all around in last year's Nationals. Her first collegiate season. She certainly broke in with a bang.
She has made a name for herself as a powerhouse freshman in the Big Ten. Beautiful front aerial into a back tuck, stuck the landing.
Wisconsin
Beautiful stuck landing for Peyton Harris. She shows control in all aspects of her gymnastics. I don't know what the judges can write down other than a smiley face.
Well, if you get that, you know you're on the right track. But she certainly showed being one of her premier events. And definitely that was on display there. Back to the floor, Sophie Dudley for the Cougars.
Front up pike handspring, double pike. Excellent control in her landing.
She had a 9.925 in the last outing, so that shows her capabilities.
Excellent display of flexibility and artistry. Full front layout, beautiful landing.
The sophomore on the squad.
It's a fun routine.
Alternate at the 2019 Nationals prior to Brigham Young. We'll see her on the beam. She tied her career high this year as well on that event.
Such a fun athlete to watch. Run off handspring double back. Unfortunately, does take 2 steps. And I'm not sure if she went out of bounds or not. It looked like from our camera angle that she did step out of bounds. However, I did not see the judge raise her arm. Oh, there it was. A late flag was raised for an out-of-bounds step.
Yeah, it did appear that way from up here. And that's the second time that has occurred right in that same juncture on the mat.
Sydney Jennings up for the Buckeyes following Peyton Harris 9.85. Starting off with a full turn. Again, another one of those dance requirements.
9.90, her career high.
Back handspring into a side aerial, 6 the landing. Split jump, straddle quarter.
9.850 on the beam in the NCAA regionals last year.
Cartwheel, gainer full. I'm gonna call that a college stick. Couldn't quite tell if her feet moved on that landing, but excellent height in that gainer full. It's worth noting we're sitting right behind the Ohio State parents here. They're all fired up.
They were the ones who were chanting 10 earlier.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure we'll hear it again probably before, especially once we get to the floor routines.
Oh, absolutely. It's also worth noting that they are dancing along to the BYU routines on floor. Everyone is enjoying their floor routines.
Yeah, they want to see them do well, and it's fun to watch them. And even if they, as we said earlier, even if they go out of bounds or have a miscue, it's still overall fun to watch these great athletes perform. This is Heidi Schooley.
Following a 9.55 from her teammate before her.
9.800 was her last floor routine. She's an electrical engineering major. Third on the floor in the 19 Western regionals.
Beautiful landing. Teammates dancing with her, having fun.
Yeah, those right in front of her. That'll get her encouraged. I'm sure you sense when you've got the crowd behind you, even though you got to focus on what you're doing.
We talked about how fun their choreography is, getting everyone engaged. Beautiful sky-high double back to end this routine. Excellent job for Heidi.
She was in the zone. That might have been their top 4 routine yet. See what the judges think, but she definitely knew that she had it down. That last showed great confidence on that last tumbling pass.
Tori Vetter up next for the Buckeyes.
We had a 9.800 in the Big 5 competition on the beam.
Beautiful full turn for Tori Vetter. Gearing up for her flight series. Back handspring layout, step out. Excellent landing. Side aerial. And keeps her rhythm moving. Switch leap, straddle quarter. Gearing up for her dismount. Round off, double pull, 6, the landing. Sticky feet, sticky feet.
We'll just continue to live up to the last performance. But that gets to, again, that setting them up for success by doing well in the previous outings. As we go back to the floor now, this is Elise Rollins. She has a really good routine to follow.
9.85 for her teammate Heidi before her. Switch side, full twisting ring jump. Don't see a lot of those. Very difficult to complete.
4'11", bundle of dynamite out there. Her best memory is her first ever 9.9. She'd love to get one of those tonight.
Tumbling pass, front layout, front full, beautiful landing.
And the big finish.
Excellent showmanship for BYU.
All she needs is a hat and a cane there.
Right.
Another Utah product. A lot of the Brigham Young performers, they like the mountains around the campus. So the locals are used to that.
JoJo Warga finishing up for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, if she can continue the pattern here, they'll have had a great team performance on this event to put them in good shape heading into the floor.
Beautiful front handspring into a back handspring. Small bobble, but stays on the beam, and that is what is important. Cat leap, switch half. Kick over pike.
Hear a lot of Go Joe out there in the crowd.
Gainer pike off the end and sticks the landing. A few little balance checks in that routine, but the important part is she never gave up and she kept fighting. And her gymnastics really is beautiful to watch.
She never really gave the impression she was gonna go off the beam, but just enough to affect the flow ever so slightly, but still a great routine. And now back to the floor for Brigham Young. This is Mina Margraf.
Beautiful double back to open the routine.
Second all around at the 19 regional level 10.
Excellent leaps. One and a half front layout.
This music they're choosing is really encouraging crowd involvement.
Front Rudy to end her routine.
Maybe takes the edge off the nerves a little bit too.
Makes you want to dance along.
Yeah. When you're thinking about that, you're not thinking about tension.
At least not for us up here.
Might help a little bit for them down there.
Teammates are certainly excited after that performance to round out the floor lineup, competitive floor lineup that is. We do have one exhibition for both BYU and Ohio State, and we are going to see Hannah Oliveros in the exhibition spot for the Buckeyes.
She had the exhibition for the bars, and now she did well there. Let's see what she brings here.
Front aerial, back handspring, beautiful landing.
All that practice in the gym, it's got to feel like opening night when you're out here in front of all these fans.
Hannah is definitely a beam worker. She has beautiful lines and control in her skills.
And beam workers are valuable for any team.
That they are. Beautiful side aerial, slight bobble or balance check.
Balance check sounds better than bobble.
Right. Gainer pike off the end. A few steps there on her landing, but a great exhibition routine for Hannah.
Won't be long and we'll probably work her way into the lineup for an actual meet. So now we have an exhibition for Brigham Young on the floor. This is Lindsay Hunter. She's an art major, so I guess we'll probably see some artistic dancing and tumbling here on the floor.
Full twisting side jump to start her routine.
Let's say this is half sport and half art.
Front 1.5 to lay out, step out as her first tumbling pass. Excellent leaps, showing her flexibility in the air.
The Ohio State fans giving a rousing round of applause. Even for the visiting gymnast.
One last tumbling pass. 1.5 to front layout. Shows beautiful control in her landing. What an excellent exhibition team. She is competition lineup ready. And that is what you want in the exhibition spot as you gear up for postseason.
And you really give that confidence that you can come out in front of the big stage and perform.
Absolutely.
So we get ready for the final event. After this last rotation, we'll be back with it coming up. So we are ready for the final rotation. Ohio State is in the lead 147.550 to 147.125. Still close enough to need to be on your game in the final rotation.
Absolutely. There is no room for error in this last rotation for either team. BYU has a few good tenths to make up if they want to overtake Ohio State, and Ohio State has to continue to push to the very end if they want to maintain the lead that they have over BYU.
Ohio State was trailing after the first event. They did not perform on the vault, probably to the top of their capabilities, and Brigham Young came out very strong on the bars. But since then, Ohio State has done extremely well on the bars and the beam. And maybe a little surprised in a couple of those routines, especially the leadoff one where there was a fall and an out-of-bounds call, but Brigham Young on the whole, as we were saying, they had to pick up the rest of their team and perform well, and they did well enough so that they're still in the hunt here. But they're on beam and Ohio State's on floor, and sometimes that's not the best for the team on the beam. Of course, they save the mat for the home team very often for just that reason, like getting the final at bat in the 9th inning.
Starting off with BYU on the beam.
This is
front aerial into a split jump.
Alex Mason.
Switch leap, split jump. Beautiful execution. We saw that straight 180 line.
It's an outstanding bars performer. Let's see what she can come up with here on the beam.
Back handspring, layout, step out. We want to see acro series take up the length of the beam. We're looking for distance and height. Full turn. Again, that sneaky little requirement that if you're not in total control of your body can prove to be quite difficult. Dismount to enter routine, 1.5, small hop backwards, but great lead off for BYU.
Ohio State's going to have to bring it on the floor. They usually do. And Tori Vetter is going to kick it off for them. And this crowd is really pumped, cheering her on. .875 in the Big 5 event on the floor for Tori Vetter.
First tumbling pass round up by handspring, sky high double back into a perfect lunge.
That 9.875 was career high.
Beautiful leaps. Crowd is clapping along. Her teammates right with her.
When you hear that, you know that you're getting their attention.
She's having fun with her choreography as she gears up for one last tumbling pass. Front layout, front 1.5. Great control in that lunge. So exciting to watch the home team finish on floor. We see the personalities come out in their choreography. The crowd knows what to expect in the floor routines.
And that's why they like to finish on floor. So now we go to the beam. It's back to the beam. Madison Raisley Patton. Don't know if they call her the general or not.
Back handspring layout, step out. Just a little off there, and she ends up coming off the beam. That will be a 5/10 deduction off of her final score.
Gallant attempt to hold it, but not quite. The first one that's gone off the beam tonight.
Switch leap straddle jump into a straddle quarter.
She tied her career high on the vault in the last outing, 9.825. Which is certainly a strong score on the beam.
Cat leap into a side aerial. Round off, 1.5. Step forward on the landing. A few uncharacteristic mistakes in that beam routine. Definitely going to be one of those scores that you would like to drop and replace with a better score.
Yes, uncharacteristic. Certainly based on her previous performance, although not a bad routine. They needed her to be one of the big scores. Savannah Gonzalez. Entered into the lineup for tonight.
Savannah opening her routine with a beautiful double pike. Stays in bounds by the tip of her toe. That shows incredible spatial awareness for where she was on the floor and not leaving room for error.
12 meets on the floor last year at 9.75 was her high score.
Front layout, front full.
Pardon me, a 9.85 was her high score.
Excellent jumps and leaps.
She's feeling the rhythm.
Last tumbling pass for Savannah. Finishing her routine with a 1.5 into a front layout. Such a fun floor routine.
Did a good job transmitting the energy to the crowd.
Back to beam for BYU.
This is Mina Margraf.
She was the floor anchor a few moments ago. Beautiful split jump to start her routine.
As I said, she was a regional level 10 beam champion in 2019. So she's a beam worker, as you say.
Front aerial into a back tuck. It's her acro series.
The Texan who came to Provo, Utah.
Switch half into a split jump. Very difficult combination. She did it so gracefully. Ending on beam is not easy for any team, especially when you are at an away competition. Front full, sticks the landing, excellent control.
Now Nicole Riccardi is up for the next floor routine for Ohio State. She got a 9.825 on the floor in the Big 5 event. That was her first floor routine of the year.
I love the Britney Spears floor music. Opening her routine with a round off back handspring double pike. Perfect landing. to half straddle full. Excellent extension in her legs.
She's practically floating out there on the mat right now.
1.5 front layout.
Definitely has an easy grace to her movements.
One last tumbling pass for Nicole. Round off back handspring. Double back. Perfect lunge. Finishing with a smile.
But she switches from grace to power, and she doesn't lose any of the elegance. Fine routine there. And Ohio State has been doing well. She got an excellent routine there to follow up the strong opening routine. So now we go back to the beam. This is Sophie Dudley.
I love watching Sophie do gymnastics. Acro series, back handspring, layout, step out, doesn't move an inch. Gorgeous, gorgeous flight series.
Tied her career high at 9.825 on the beam in the last meet.
That was that full turn we talked about. That can be a little dicey if you're not in control of your body. Look at how beautiful that extension is. Straddle jump, straddle half. She has beautiful flexibility and she is executing it with ease and grace. Gainer full. Oh, it was so effortless and beautiful. Wow.
It was one of the better routines we've seen from Brigham Young on the beam.
Following a 9.875 from her teammate before her.
Peyton Harris for Ohio State.
The powerhouse freshman. Beautiful double pike to open her routine. Switch side Popa.
2021, she was the national runner-up on the floor. You can see why.
Front double full into a stag jump. Shows incredible dynamics in her tumbling into the ease of a stag jump. So hard to show control in that. She does it perfectly. One last tumbling pass for Peyton. Front full, front layouts, sticks it, lunges anyway. She's just so cute.
On top of all of her skills, that's one additional.
She's just so fun to watch. Smiles the whole way through. It's incredible to find a freshman and rookie athlete as well seasoned as she is.
That's the young man, the junior that was introduced before the match and the meet, and he's
our
there.
Buckeye junior Claire.
Exchanging the high fives or high tens or what have you.
She is here as an honorary member of the Buckeye team today.
That's got to be a thrill. Well, certainly it appears that Ohio State, they were in a good position at the start. They've been performing well enough on the floor to solidify that position.
Staying in your bubble, controlling what you can control, not giving the judges any reason to take deductions. Is what both of the teams are trying to do in this last rotation. 9-8-7-5 for Peyton Harris.
Elise Rollins next up for Brigham Young on the beam.
Oh, look at that beautiful split mount. BYU has showed us quite an incredible display of artistry and technical work in their flexibility. Switch lead, straddle quarter, keeping the momentum and the rhythm flowing. Front aerial, back handspring, layout, step out, gorgeous. Executed perfectly.
You weave that together seamlessly.
Full turn. She's in control, showing grace and confidence.
To do all this on such a narrow apparatus is quite impressive indeed.
Back handspring, gainer full, sticks the landing. I am impressed. That was next to perfect.
Well, they've been keeping up with the Buckeyes. Have been very strong on the floor, but for the most part, Brigham Young has been keeping pace on the beam.
Claire Gagliardi, a fan favorite. If you are a fan of college gymnastics, you are a fan of Claire Gagliardi on floor. Her floor routine tells the story of her time here at Ohio State, all 5 years. For Buckeye fans, you will find this music familiar.
A 9.850 on the floor in the NCAA regional. Nearby Hubbard, Ohio. Performed in every meet on the floor last year, and the crowd was happy about that.
She's just a joy to watch. Her gymnastics is electrifying.
She's got a dynamic quality that even great gymnasts don't have very often.
Captivates the judges. Run off back handspring, double pike, and unfortunately steps out of bounds. She's just too powerful there at the end.
Yeah, that is the biggest issue for someone like that, is harnessing all that power, which she usually does very well.
Claire make many mistakes, and unfortunately, it happens. But Claire is a professional. I'm sure she won't let it rattle her too much.
You would almost think that a gymnast like that would be subject to it because of all the adrenaline. They get the crowd going, and they're going, and she usually controls it extremely well.
Back to beam.
There's Heidi Schooley. She's going to try to school everybody.
Oh! Layout, step out, and unfortunately she does Bible and come right off the beam. Looking to finish as clean as possible in the remainder of this beam routine. Full turn, slight bobble there as well. This is where you really have to take those deep breaths and really gain control of your body. She did that beautiful on that acro scale. Shuttle jump, shuttle half.
They were in a good dismount there. They were in a position they had to do just about everything right, though.
Beautiful finish. While they did not want to see another fall, unfortunately, one of those falls will have to count, but a beautiful finish nonetheless. Claire Gagliardi with a 9.6. Again, not the score that the Buckeyes would want. However, mistakes do happen. And we still have another
Even Claire
floor team.
Gagliardi on the floor. Mistakes can happen. Alexis Hankins.
She has such a fun routine, and I'm so excited to see it today. She warmed up so beautifully. Opening her floor routine with a full twisting double back to a perfect lunge.
9.925 is her career high on the floor. Maybe she's on the way.
Front layout, front full. Dances right out of it. Switch ring into a torchete half. Those leap elements, again, just as important as the tumbling. She has one last tumbling pass, and this routine has been next to perfect thus far. She looks confident. Round off back handspring, double back, and unfortunately takes 2 steps and out of bounds.
Wow, 2 in a row. Top flight floor performers.
Maybe they put extra springs in the floor this week.
Yeah, maybe so. Definitely
A
could be
great
unforgiving.
finish for Alexis Hankins.
And as you said, she looked super confident going into that last tumbling pass.
Absolutely. We're actually going to see a beam routine first for
Eliza
BYU
Miller.
in the exhibition
Then
spot.
JoJo Warga on the floor for
Back
Ohio
handspring
State.
layout, step out. Beautifully done.
She was the one who was outstanding. Talking about what we just saw with Claire Gagliardi and Alexis Hankins, she's an outstanding floor performer, and she fell twice, or went out of bounds once and fell once.
Watching a beautiful beam routine from BYU. She's showing true confidence and extension through all of her skills with a little uniqueness there. Front full. Small hop on the landing. I bet they wish that beam routine was in the lineup. That was beautiful. Her teammates are so happy for her.
They could put that one in place of the one where the fall occurred, and
just slip that one right into the lineup.
That was number 6, wasn't it?
Right.
Now we're going to see JoJo Warga on the floor with an exhibition routine, and that will conclude the gymnastics performances for tonight. It appears Ohio State has outdone Brigham Young, but maybe neither team getting exactly the overall score they wanted, but a lot of excellent work from both teams.
Opening with a 2.5 punch front to a stuck landing.
performed on the beam earlier tonight.
Switch half wolf full.
Career best on floor, 9.900. She's done it 3 times.
Standing tuck full. One last tumbling pass for JoJo. Front double full. Beautiful landing. Well, that rounds out our gymnastics for the evening. And a job well done
gesture
for JoJo.
there, and the crowd loved it. So that will do it. And Ohio State will record a victory over Brigham Young. They finished third in that Big Five. They'd won their previous 2 on the road against Illinois and Penn State, so they keep the momentum going into a competition on Sunday against Illinois and Kent State. The team that actually beat them in the Big Three last year, but then Ohio State came back and returned the favor in the subsequent meet in Kent. So what would you say about the overall performance of the 2 teams here tonight?
I would say that we saw a lot of great gymnastics, but we also saw a lot of room for improvement from both teams. Ideally, at this stage in the game, we do not want to have to count falls, and we certainly don't want to see multiple athletes going out of bounds on floor exercise. We want to see stuck landings. We saw a lot of sticky feet today, which is amazing. But we also saw confidence in the athletes. So while we did have a few mistakes from both teams that we saw today, there was a lot of confidence that was given and grown through this meet today. And I am very excited to see both of these teams progress through the postseason in the coming weeks.
No, and of course, as you say, there's always that possibility you're going to see some of those hiccups along the way, but I guess it's better to get them out of the way here.
Absolutely.
In the upcoming meets.
Absolutely. Rather today than in the postseason. However, this sets you up for postseason. We're going to see Ohio State again Sunday afternoon back in Covelli.
So what kind of a challenge will that be to so soon after? That'll be an afternoon meet, so really less than 48 hours, they'll be at it again.
It's going to be like a blink of an eye. Competing back-to-back like that definitely has its challenges for all of the athletes. The good news is that they don't have to travel. However, it is a very quick turnaround.
What will they do tomorrow to prepare for it?
Well, I am not quite sure. I guess that's up to the coaches at that point.
What would you, based on your experience, what would you do in a one day when you're
I think it truly depends on the team that they have at hand at any given year. You know, I'm sure the coaches will have them do some recovery, maybe some light work, but the girls are prepared for competition.
There you see the flowers being presented. And there's our honorary team member.
Ohio State taking home the win this evening, again with a 196.575.
1 point even.
There's a full 1 point split, like you said, between the two teams.
They got a 196.
We had a clean, safe meet today.
I would say that's a good way to describe it, yes. They got a 196.750, so slightly higher at the Big Five, in which they placed third, but they did what, it was a workmanlike effort. They did what they had to do, and you clean up a couple of those uncharacteristic mistakes, and then the score's even much higher than it was.
Absolutely. Control what you can control. and move forward each meet.
So the victorious Ohio State Buckeyes coming together with the traditional rendering of the alma mater. So that will do it for tonight from the Covelli Center. Ohio State wins it. I guess we'll see you back in a very short time for the Sunday meet against Illinois and Kent State. And until then, thanks for being with us. For Lexi Mattern, this is Greg Franke saying so long, everyone.